Well, good news, everyone. It has finally happened. EA no longer has the exclusive rights to Star Wars. Isn't that awesome? I'm sorry. Playing the celebration theme is only appropriate because fuck EA. I mean, one of the worst gaming companies of all of gaming, got a hold of Star Wars license. Oh my god. It feels so long ago it happened, almost 10 years. And what has EA really done for Star Wars in these 10 years? Not even that. Nothing. All we got was a incomplete Battlefront game with very little content. Battlefront 2 that was pushing microtransactions, and Fallen Order and Squadrons and a bunch of shitty mobile games. That's it. I mean, seriously. Anyway, it is a cause for celebration because EA is the worst gaming company in the gaming industry. They're one of the worst that capitalism has to offer as well. And if this gets taken down because of the music, well, fuck Disney for that. Anyway, we should celebrate. Get some drinks, guys. Celebrate. This is something worth celebrating. With EA no longer having Star Wars, at least the exclusive rights to it, in a few more years, we may finally go back to a golden age of Star Wars games. Though I'll have to give my thoughts on Ubisoft of all companies, doing it. But let's wait for the celebration theme to end. All right. It's over. Okay. The stream has begun. Not a typical way I start my streams, but you know what? Fuck EA, because EA ruins everything. EA, everything they touch, they've ruined. They've ruined, the Mass Effect, series. They've ruined, Deep Space. What the fuck you call that? I don't even know. EA ruins everything it touches. And the fact that we may actually start getting Star Wars games again that will actually be, more options. Yeah. Fuck EA. We're celebrating the fact they no longer, will have the exclusive rights to Star Wars games. It is so much, fucking better. And yeah. Now, the future of Star Wars games, with EA no longer having the exclusive rights for them, what will it look like? Will we go back to the golden age of Star Wars games like we had with KOTOR, and various other games that came out before KOTOR? Or will we continue to get the same garbage that we've been getting, garbage in, garbage out since EA, owns the rights to Star Wars? Because I don't think Ubisoft is any better as a developer as EA. In some ways, they're worse. They really are. Well, Jedi Fallen Order is all right. It isn't the best video game out there. It really isn't. But compared to what we've been getting in the past, decade prior to that game coming out, it's freaking a godsend, honestly. And honestly, I'm not really happy with Ubisoft, doing a Star Wars game because of all that they do is open world games. I'm hoping for other developers besides Ubisoft to do Star Wars games, somebody else. Like, I think Square Enix would be a good choice for Star Wars games, considering, they have a good reputation of actually doing, video games with, good looking cinematics and, great looking graphics. So I think, Square Enix would be a perfect choice, for Star Wars games, at least have them if they want to do an RPG one of these days, maybe the next KOTOR should actually be given to like Square Enix. So I don't know if Disney would want to work with a Japanese developer, honestly. Then again, they do have an English branch, in Square Enix. So I think that could work. And this is not a debate about what's better, Force Unleashed or Fallen Order. So enough with that crap. I'm not putting up with this here. Mixed feelers. Anyway, Star Wars is a franchise where the possibilities of video games is endless. It is endless for video games, what you can do with this franchise. And EA barely has made anything with the Star Wars license. Since 2013, they barely did anything with it, honestly. All they did is 2 Battlefront games, Jedi Fallen Order, and Squadrons. That's pitiful compared to what LucasArts, did, in the early 2000s. Hell, even the 1990s. It's pathetic. It really is pathetic that, they gave us that. It really is pathetic. And look, let's go over, the games. Battlefront 1 was nothing more than an incomplete game with barely any content, and it was just a poor man's Battlefield. Battlefront 2 was much better than Battlefront 1, what I've heard from people who played it, but it was going to be littered with microtransactions until gamers, once in their fucking useless life, actually said, fuck you, EA, we're not doing this, and actually boycotted Battlefront 2. Gamers' boycott of Battlefront 2 is the whole reason why, we didn't get some of the bad microtransactions we could have gotten in other video games. EA's Battlefront 2 would have ruined gaming if it was a success at the beginning. They had no choice but to relent on doing what they did. I mean, Battlefront 2, they did make their money back eventually, but it did make Disney lose money, and it didn't help the fact they caused a huge controversy that happened very close to the release of The Last Jedi. Of course, I'm not going to get into that, but EA was just the start of many controversies to come with Disney Star Wars, and things didn't really help much. Jedi Fallen Order was announced, like early, like I forgot. I think it's sometime in 2019, and I don't even remember. I'm sorry, I forgot. Did it come out in 2019? I don't remember. Anyway, Jedi Fallen Order, in my opinion, is one of those games. I feel like the hype of it. The only reason people like Mandalorian, people overhype the game because barely anything that's come out in Star Wars has been good. If we want to be honest. I'm not debating this, mixed feelers. I'm not warning you again. This is not a debate platform. I'm not talking about gaming. This is about EA and Star Wars. And not everyone that, plays, video games cares about, just gameplay. Some people want a story-driven game, and Star Wars has been doing this for years. Star Wars has been doing this and has proven with Knights of the Old Republic, you can do a story-driven Star Wars game, and it can be a success. Honestly, it can be a success. Though the problem is this new era of gaming that we live in, innovation is not really encouraged. Star Wars games in the early 2000s, there was a lot of innovation. So some of the games influenced the entire genre, of gaming as we know it. I mean, online gaming wouldn't be where it is if it weren't for, Dark Forces 2. Knights of the Old Republic, paved the way for the critically acclaimed Mass Effect series. I mean, Star Wars games used to be video games that were actually good on their own. It wasn't just the Star Wars license that carried these games over. And that is, the reason why when EA got the rights to it, okay, let's be honest here. Would any of you guys give a shit about Battlefront 2 EA or Battlefront EA if Star Wars' name wasn't attached to it? Would you care about Jedi Fallen Order if Star Wars' name wasn't attached to it? I'm just being real. Star Wars games in the current era don't sell on their own. They only sell because of the name Star Wars. Knights of the Old Republic managed to sell on its own. Non-Star Wars fans who never even watched the Star Wars films, loved Knights of the Old Republic because it was a great story-driven video game that actually felt the world around you felt real. It felt, alive. And considering it was a 6th-gen game and they wouldn't have what PS3 games and 360 games would eventually have in terms of, graphics and how you were able to, take, what Knights of the Republic did and expand upon it greatly. The Mass Effect games, definitely did that. But anyway, I'm getting back to EA losing the license. Potential, the exclusive license. This is a win for gamers and this is a win for fans because EA for too long has been doing nothing but holding back potentially great ideas for Star Wars video games. We've had, games canceled under EA's watch. A potential game where you played as a smuggler, which we never did that in a Star Wars game ever. And that was canceled. And we had people who were involved with the Uncharted games working on it, canceled. It's like so many potential projects we probably don't even know about with EA was canceled. And with EA's BS about nobody wants to play single player games anymore. Star Wars games in general, it became irrelevant under EA's leadership. In, Lucas's era, they were bread and butter. Like, if you released a Star Wars game that was critically acclaimed, it would definitely be a huge success. I mean, let's be honest here. I barely hear anyone talk about EA's, Battlefront 2 these days. I really don't. And the only reason people talk about how great Jedi Fallen Order was is because everything that has been released, since 2008 has sucked. I'm being honest. There hasn't really been that many good Star Wars games that's come out since, Knights of the Old Republic 2 and Battlefront 2, the original Battlefront 2. And in my opinion, Star Wars games were in decline even before EA took over. And that was the issue with, The Force Unleashed was a victim of, what was going on in the 7th console generation at the time. The PS3 was struggling, same thing with the Xbox to some extent, and the Wii was doing numbers, and everybody wanted in that cash. So they made so many goddamn different versions of The Force Unleashed that you had a somewhat functional, PS3 and 360 version, which had its own problems with, controls, frame rate. You have the PS2 version and the Wii version, which are essentially the same game, looking really ugly in terms of graphics. But, you don't have as much content, and the PSP version's even uglier than the other two versions. It's just the Force Unleashed, games, honestly, had they focused on just working on the PS3 and Xbox 360, they would have been far better games than basically having a bunch of different developers making mediocre versions of the same video game. So honestly, I don't think the Force Unleashed, games were that good. And that's the problem. The 7th console generation, barely anything was done with Star Wars. Honestly, we did have some good games in development that probably would have been good, like the Darth Maul video game and the first Star Wars game we would have gotten in the 8th console generation, 1313. All that this was canceled when Disney bought Star Wars. And giving EA the rights to Star Wars games when at the time that they released, Mass Effect 3 was still fresh in everybody's minds. Let's be honest here. How Disney's been, basically they didn't give a good impression on, the Star Wars fan base by, saying like, oh, we're going to do a brand new era of Star Wars, a great era. Yet let's close down LucasArts, a in-house developer, and let's, cancel a bunch of games. That's essentially what the Disney Star Wars era has been so far for Star Wars video games. Majority of the projects people were looking forward to were canceled. And all we have had since, 2008 is a mediocre, hack and slash with The Force Unleashed, a mediocre hack and slash with Force Unleashed 2, a bunch of forgettable games on the DS and PSP, and some Clone Wars games that came out on the PS2 or PS3, whatever. It's just Star Wars hasn't really had that good video game in a long time. It really hasn't. Jedi Fallen Order, the reason why it was as well received as it was, because everything before Fallen Order has sucked. And I'm being objective here as a video game. And I'm not even going to debate about the story of Fallen Order. I'm talking about in terms of gameplay. The Star Wars games just haven't been, living up to anything. But once Knights of the Old Republic came and went, Star Wars games have been slowly going downhill. And it didn't help the fact that you got one of the worst developers in the industry, EA of all companies, to have the exclusive rights. And look what EA has done with Star Wars. Shitty mobile games, a freaking Battlefield clone with both the Force with Battlefront 2 and Battlefront 1, a game that wants to be Dark Souls and whatever game that's popular these days, in Jedi Fallen Order. Then you have Squadrons, which is probably basically a revival of a genre of Star Wars games that has died 20 years ago, the flight sim. I mean, it's ridiculous how it was only before they're about to lose a license where they started to give diversity in terms of Star Wars video games. When, with the kind of things you can do with modern day consoles, you could do wonders for Star Wars games, and EA did nothing with the exclusive license. And I think the reason they're losing the license exclusively is purely because I think Disney wasn't happy with the fact that EA wasn't delivering what they expected. They wanted them to probably to make a Star Wars game every year or every other year. But instead, because Disney, let's be honest here, don't know how the gaming industry works. You can't just pop up a game every year, especially with Star Wars, considering the fact that, let's be real, you need freaking at least a few years to develop these games. And you can't have one company develop all of them. So Disney made a huge mistake. In fact, this entire exclusively deal falls not on EA's shoulders, but on Disney. Not knowing how the gaming industry worked. They should have given the Star Wars license to multiple companies. If they wanted a game to come out every year at least, then they should have different developers make different games. It's like it's all falls on, Kathleen Kennedy's and Bob Iger's, shoulders, that they should have known how the gaming industry worked, at least somebody in Lucasfilm. Like they had, LucasArts, who they weren't the only ones that worked on Star Wars games. They should have gotten, those kind of people to actually advise them what they should be doing regarding Star Wars video games. They didn't. Instead, they fired them, and look at what we got as a result. 4 Star Wars games in 10 years. When LucasArts owned Star Wars, between The Phantom Menace and the release of Revenge of the Sith, we got tons of Star Wars games every year. I mean, we got I can't even list all of them. There were so many. I'm just gonna like list the the notable ones, like Star Wars Jedi Pod Racer. We got Battle for Naboo, Rogue Squadron, Rogue Leader, Rebel Strike, Knights of the Old Republic, Knights of the Old Republic 2, Star Wars Battlefront, Star Wars Battlefront 2, Star Wars, Lego Star Wars, at least the first one, because the second one wouldn't come out until the following year. We got, I know there's some bad Star Wars game that released, like Star Wars Obi-Wan. We got Star Wars Starfighter, Star Wars Jedi Starfighter. I know there's some stuff on the Game Boy Advance that we got for Star Wars, but we got a lot of Star Wars games. Not all of them were good, but we got a lot more good Star Wars games than bad. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention Jedi Outcast and Jedi Academy. We got a lot of Star Wars games because you didn't just have one company working on one game. You had multiple. Did you guys know Activision worked on a Star Wars game, in the early 2000s? They didn't know freaking the gaming industry at all. And they expected that EA would be able to turn up a bunch of Star Wars games every year because, they think, oh, we could do it for the movies. They could do it for the video games. That's not how it works. Okay, when it comes to the Lego games, I don't count those. Honestly, they are Star Wars games, but because it's kind of hard to fuck up Lego, if I had to be real. But the Lego games are fun. They've always have been. I don't think you can make it's. I think it's impossible to, oh God. This is not okay. Mixed feelers. I'm warning you again. I don't fucking want your EU hating bullshit or your prequel hating bullshit in these streams. If you're gonna bring this up again, I'm gonna ban you permanently. I'm gonna put you on timeout because I'm tired of dealing with this crap. All right. They don't know the gaming industry at all. I think the Lego Skywalker Saga is going to be a good game. I really think it's going to be. And anyway, the future of Star Wars video games, I can't say it's bright because EA, they may lose the exclusive rights, but who are they going to give it to? Ubisoft doesn't necessarily have the best reputation, in the gaming, public, and they do have a reputation of having video games pushing far-right conspiracy theories. Is that the kind of shit we're going to expect in their Star Wars games? Not to mention Activision overworks their workers, and not to mention their games. It's just the same bullshit every year with Assassin's Creed and shit. So no, I don't really think we should celebrate that it's Ubisoft of all companies. In fact, I think they should give Star Wars to lesser known developers so we actually can get new and exciting ideas. Because if you just do it to like Ubisoft, what we're going to get? Well, as long as you don't give Star Wars to Bethesda, I think we should be okay. Anyway, I don't think, this is something that much is going to change with, Ubisoft, making a Star Wars game. Who knows? It could be good. I'll have to wait and see. But I wouldn't hold my breath because Ubisoft does not have a good reputation when it comes to making games. Yeah, they have no soul. I do know that there are some developers I would want to give Star Wars games. It's just I feel like they're going for the AAA developers is a bad idea. Give Nintendo a shot at a Star Wars game, and we'll get something of quality. Give Nintendo a shot. But knowing Disney, they want to sell these games on many consoles as possible. So they're not going to do Nintendo. But there's so many different developers they can do. Sega, Atlas, Namco Bandai. There isn't these Western developers aren't the only ones they could use to develop a Star Wars game. Capcom is also a choice. Disney doesn't know anything about the freaking how the gaming industry works. If they did, holy shit, things would be far worse. Disney would be worse than EA if they knew anything about the gaming industry. Now, I know this has been kind of a rant and rambling regarding EA losing the license, but honestly, I do not have any faith things are going to be any different with EA, no longer having the exclusive rights, considering Ubisoft is not necessarily a good company either. And Ubisoft are likely the kind of people, that will do some of the same shit EA is doing with their microtransactions. So, yeah, I'm not really excited for their Star Wars game that they'll eventually work on. They're probably just going to have it to be a pay-to-win video game. Who knows what kind of game they're going to make? Anyway, is the future bright for Star Wars games? No, I don't think it is. I do not think it is, because for me personally, as long as you only have the worst developers of all working on Star Wars games, the future is not bright. Anyway, I've ran out of things to say. This is Darcinovia, over and out. See you guys next time in the Mandalorian video, where I talk about both season 1 and season 2 of Mandalorian and give my full thoughts on him. Later, everyone, and may the Force